At the beginning of the movie, we are introduced to Ogden Marsh, Iowa, a picture-perfect small town where life moves at the kind of gentle pace that most people spend their whole lives chasing. Cornfields stretch to the horizon, kids play Little League, neighbors know each other by name. We are introduced to Sheriff David Dutton, played with quiet intensity by Timothy Oliphant. David is the kind of man this town was built around, calm, measured, deeply protective of the people he serves. Beside him is his partner and best friend, Deputy Russell Clank, whose loyalty to David will be tested in ways neither of them can possibly imagine yet. On what appears to be a perfectly ordinary afternoon, the whole town has gathered at the local baseball field for a game. It's the kind of small-town Americana moment that belongs on a postcard. David and Russell are watching from the sidelines, relaxed and easy, when something shifts the energy of the entire scene. A man walks onto the field. That man is Rory Hamill, a local resident known around town for having everything you need to know about what kind of movie this is, slowly pulls back, rising above the field, above the town, as if something, somewhere, is watching, taking note. The aftermath is uncomfortable in the way that only small-town tragedies can be. David visits Rory's grieving family to offer his condolences and explain what happened. But here's the thing that starts eating at him. Rory's family insists the man had been completely sober for 2 full years. No drinking, no incidents. Which raises a question David can't quite shake loose. If Rory wasn't drunk, what was he? Meanwhile, we are introduced to David's wife, Dr. Judy Dutton, who runs the local medical clinic. Judy is sharp, compassionate, and as it happens, carrying what appears to be a very early pregnancy. A detail that adds an enormous amount of emotional weight to everything that follows, because now it's not just David and Judy's lives on the line. It's the life of someone who hasn't even entered the world yet. Rory's toxicology screen comes back completely clean. No alcohol, no drugs, no substances of any. David stands there holding that report, and you can see the gears turning. Rory was concerned. He's been acting strange, distant, slow to respond, staring into space. Judy notices signs of neurological disruption and recommends further testing. But before any of that can happen, Bill's situation takes a horrifying turn. That night, Bill's wife wakes to strange sounds coming from the barn. When she goes to investigate, she finds Bill sitting in his combine harvester, not operating it, just sitting there in the dark, completely still, staring at nothing. The kind of stillness that makes your skin crawl because it doesn't look like rest. It looks like absence. She gets back to the house. Bill is already inside, and he has a knife. What follows is one of the most stomach-dropping sequences in the film. Bill locks his own wife and young son in a closet. They scream, they beg. And then, in chilling silence, he walks to the kitchen, turns on the stove, and sets the house ablaze. He doesn't rage. He doesn't cry. He just does it methodically, almost peacefully, as though burning down his own home is the most natural thing in the world. By the time David arrives at the scene, firefighters are still battling the flames. And there's Bill on the front lawn mowing the grass. His home is on fire. His family barely escaped with their lives. And this man is mowing his lawn, whistling to himself like it's a Sunday afternoon. 2 incidents. 2 men completely detached from reality. No drugs, no history of mental illness, no explanation. Then the hunters find the body in the swamp. A group of men out in the bayou stumble across a parachute tangled in the water, and attached to it the waterlogged remains of what appears to be a military pilot. He's been dead for about a week. And when investigators determine approximately where he went down, they find something submerged in the murky depths nearby that changes everything. A military aircraft sunk in unreported silence. And here is where David's mind makes a connection that will unravel the entire fabric of Ogden Marsh. He traces the town's water supply. He follows the flow of it, upstream through the treatment system, out to the farms and homes and pipes that feed every faucet in town. And he realizes that the crash site is positioned directly upstream. Whatever was aboard that plane has been leaching into the groundwater, into the water that Rory drank, that Bill drank, that everyone in Ogden Marsh drank. The mayor hesitates. It's planting season. The economic damage would be severe. The town would push back hard. But David isn't asking anymore. He shuts it down himself. It is already too late. Back at the sheriff's station, Russell makes a discovery that shifts the investigation into something much darker. A trail of blood on the floor leads him to Bill Farnham, who has somehow found his way to the station and collapsed in a corner, bleeding badly. The 2 men approach carefully, and Bill gives them a sudden, violent start, eyes snapping open, staring at them with that same vacant intensity. Before David can make any calls, he notices something alarming. The phone lines are dead. The internet is down. And when he steps outside, the town feels wrong, too quiet. The streets are empty in a way that isn't peaceful. It's the quiet of something about to happen. David follows a distant sound to a funeral home, where he walks into a scene that is equal parts terrifying and deeply bizarre. The mortician, Jim, has apparently crossed a line between professional and something far more disturbing in his work. What should be a routine investigation turns into a brutal, claustrophobic fight for survival. One that ends with David escaping a fate that would have made him the most awkward statistic in Ogden Marsh history, saved at the last possible second by Russell, who has an uncanny talent for showing up exactly when his friend needs him most. David goes home and tells Judy they need to leave tonight, but before they can act, figures appear outside. Men in black vehicles, armed, organized, moving through the town with the precision of people who have done this before. David and Judy are swept up in a massive roundup. The entire town, hundreds of people, young and old, is being herded toward a central processing facility set up at the edge of Ogden Marsh. Military personnel in hazmat suits move through the crowd with clipboards and scanners, and the kind of efficiency that tells you this was never about saving anyone. This was about containing them. At the processing tents, people are tested, separated. Anyone showing elevated temperature, any sign of infection, is pulled from the line and taken somewhere else. And when Judy's temperature reads slightly high, she is yanked away from David without warning, without explanation, without even the chance to say goodbye. She ends up at the local high school, which has been converted into a quarantine ward. People are strapped to cots. They are tagged and logged. And the officials moving through the aisles treat their charges not as sick human beings, but as biological variables to be managed. David wakes up in a military transport vehicle, disoriented and furious. He quickly figures out where Judy has been taken. And with Russell, who managed to break free during a breach in the perimeter, he arms himself and goes after her. What they find at the quarantine facility when they arrive is chaos. A breach somewhere in the system has allowed infected individuals to flood the building. The soldiers have evacuated, leaving the strapped-down, helpless patients completely alone with people who want to kill them. Judy is still strapped to her cot, so is her colleague Becca. And moving through the room with terrifying calm is one of the infected, a man with that now familiar hollow stare, armed and moving bed to bed, systematically ending lives. The horror of this scene isn't just the violence, it's the helplessness, the bureaucratic abandonment. These people were left there. David arrives just in time, but just barely. With Judy freed and the group reunited, the four of them, David, Judy, Russell, and Becca, have to navigate a town that has become a kill zone from two directions at once. The infected are out there, losing their minds and their humanity by the hour, and the military has made it devastatingly clear. They are shooting on sight, sick or healthy. It doesn't matter anymore. The town of Ogden Marsh has been designated a total loss. They need a vehicle. They need a route out, and they need to survive long enough to find both. Their attempt to commandeer a truck goes sideways when they discover it belongs to a group of infected locals who have graduated from confused and violent to something far more organized and sadistic. They are actively hunting other survivors for sport, moving through the abandoned streets with weapons and a terrifying sense of purpose that the virus somehow left intact even as it erased everything else. With no other options, the group decides to travel on foot to David and Judy's farmhouse several miles out, hoping to find an uncompromised vehicle in the barn. Along the way, tension simmers within the group. Russell has been exposed. No one says it directly, but everyone is watching him, every stumble, every lapse, every moment of hesitation. Is that just exhaustion, or is it something else? They make a detour to pick up Becca's boyfriend Scotty at his home. But Scotty has already seen too much. The things he witnessed tonight have cracked something inside him. And he greets them in a state of barely contained panic, armed and dangerous. They manage to disarm and calm him. But calm in this town on this night never lasts. A military unit sweeps through Scotty's neighborhood, and in the chaos, Scotty's mother is taken. Scotty, unable to stop himself, unable to choose survival over love, runs after her. Both of them are shot. The ground where they fall is burned. The soldiers move on. The survivors press forward, hollowed out. At the farmhouse, they manage to get the old cruiser running. There's a brief, quiet moment where Judy walks through the house, touches the walls, pauses at the nursery. A farewell to a life that is never coming back. Then something forces David upstairs, and he finds that members of Rory's infected family have made the farmhouse their own, and they are not interested in peaceful coexistence. What follows is a brutal, desperate struggle that ends with Russell saving David's life, again. But when Judy points out that Russell's behavior is beginning to show the telltale signs of infection, David makes the impossible choice to keep moving with him anyway. He owes the man his life more than once. The group presses on in the cruiser, stretched thin and running on fumes, emotional and otherwise. Becca begins coughing. Russell grows quieter, more erratic, his responses slower. They are buzzed by a military helicopter and make an impulsive decision to duck into an automated car wash to break the visual line. Inside the car wash, the machinery activates. What should be a brief hiding spot turns into a death trap. In the chaos of escaping the car wash, Becca is killed. A sudden, gut punch of a moment that hits harder than almost anything else in the film because it's so abrupt. 1 second she's there, the next she's not, and there is no time to process it. There is never time. They drive on. Then a government vehicle approaches on the road ahead. David stops it. Inside is a lone survivor, a man connected to the original incident. And when David presses him, the man confirms what the audience has already begun to piece together. The plane that went down in the swamp was carrying Trixie, a classified biological weapon engineered by the military. It was being transported for destruction when it crashed. Trixie is designed to infiltrate the nervous system through water ingestion, and it operates on a 48-hour incubation window before symptoms manifest. The infected don't die, they degrade, slowly, completely, until there is nothing left of the person they used to be. The man confirms they are on day 3 of exposure. If none of them are showing symptoms, they should be clear. Before he can say anything else, before David can ask about safe routes, about who knows the truth, about whether anyone in any government building is actually trying to fix this, Russell shoots him. And just like that, the only source of answers is gone. The group is forced to confront Russell directly now. There is no more pretending. David approaches him carefully, the way you approach someone who is both dangerous and beloved, trying to find the man still living behind the eyes that are starting to go dim. Russell understands what is happening to him. He knows, and in a moment of devastating clarity, he makes a choice. He will be the distraction. When they hit a military checkpoint on the road to the truck stop, Russell pulls up alone, drawing every weapon in the vicinity toward himself, giving David and Judy the window they need to slip past. It works. The soldiers focus on Russell. David and Judy run. It is the last time they see him. The truck stop is deserted, eerily, completely silent. David searches for keys, for a working vehicle, for anything. Judy searches too, and what she finds makes her go still. Shell casings, hundreds of them, and the remains of what was clearly a mass execution. Soldiers didn't just quarantine the people of Ogden Marsh. They eliminated them, sick or healthy, young or old. It didn't matter. This is no longer a containment operation. It never was. David hears a military radio frequency counting down. The lights go out. And then the infected close in, led by the same terrifying figures that have been hunting survivors throughout the night. Judy hides among the dead, motionless, barely breathing as they pass within inches of her. David battles his way to her. They find a truck. David tries a ring of keys. None of them work. He gets out to check the driver's side and is yanked under the vehicle by a bloodied, furious, infected man. Topside, more close in on Judy. But Judy, quiet, careful, pregnant Judy, draws the knife she picked up earlier and handles her situation with a resolve that earns her every ounce of survival she gets. Below the truck, David douses his attacker in engine oil and lights him on fire. They get in. They drive. Behind them, the countdown reaches 0. Ogden Marsh, every building, every field, every trace of the life they knew is obliterated in a military strike designed to erase the evidence of what happened here. David floors it. The explosion chases them down the highway. And somehow, against all logic, they survive. They walk toward the nearest city, Cedar Rapids, battered, irradiated, and alive. And then the movie shows us one final chilling image, a satellite view of Cedar Rapids. And the same countdown that destroyed Ogden Marsh begins again. The nightmare is not over. It has simply moved. The Crazies is the kind of movie that doesn't overstay its welcome and doesn't underestimate its audience. It trusts you to fill in the gaps. It doesn't stop to explain the biology of Trixie in a fifth, drops you into the middle of a catastrophe and forces you to figure out, alongside its characters, who the real enemy is. And the answer, as it so often is, turns out to be power. The kind of power that decides a town of innocent people is an acceptable loss. The kind that erases evidence instead of acknowledging mistakes. The kind that sends soldiers with machine guns to clean up a mess that bureaucratic indifference created in the first place. George Romero was writing about this in 1973. The fact that his story only became more relevant with time says something that none of us should be entirely comfortable with. Now, here's the thing. If you watched this entire breakdown and didn't subscribe to the channel, I'm going to need you to sit with that decision for a moment. We just walked through government cover-ups, bioweapons in the water supply, military executions, and a man mowing his lawn while his house burned down. And you're going to leave without hitting subscribe? After everything we've been through together? Don't do that to me. Hit the subscribe button right now if you want more breakdowns like this one. Movies that make you think, movies that make you uncomfortable, and movies that somehow feel more real every single year they age. And drop a comment below. Do you think the government in this movie did the right thing by destroying the town? Or was it cold-blooded murder dressed up as crisis management? There's no wrong answer, but I want to hear yours. I'll see you in the next one.